Hello everybody, welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we will be reviewing the album Getting Paid by the band Zechs Marquise.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So, normally this is the point in the video where I would show you my favorite bits from the album, but today we're not going to do that because there's some odd issue of not being really able to download songs off of YouTube, or at least it works really slow and it doesn't work all the time, and I am not in the mood to get into that. So I'm just going to talk about the album. You're going to get the gist of it. I think it's enough. And if you want to listen to this album, it's not on Spotify, but I did find it on YouTube and it's pretty available over there. So if you want to go and have a listen, just search up on YouTube. So the band Zechs Marquise, not a lot of people know it, but a lot of people do know the band Mars Volta, because the percussionist which made Zechs Marquise in the first place, his name is Marcel Rodriguez Lopez. Now he, I think, came from Puerto Rico. He's a percussionist. He joined the Mars Volta, and later on he created his love child, which is Zechs Marquise, his own band. So they formed in 2003. They released a single album. Then for a sort of a while there was an hiatus, and then they came back and released in 2011 their second album, which is called Getting Paid, which is the one we're going to talk about right now. So first of all, this is not categorized as a progressive rock album. Although the band itself sometimes does that, this album is actually categorized as psychedelic rock. Now, I find psychedelic rock and progressive rock to be sort of like the best buddies in the genre. They mostly go together, they sound the same, but they still have enough differentiations which makes them two different subgenres. So this album right from the get-go is so inspired by so many different genres and styles of music from all around the globe. It just is a mashup of so many things that I did not expect to be in this album, and mostly I didn't expect them to go together as well as Zechs Marquise just does it. I just feel like the tracks in this album are always on the verge of being similar to something else that I know, but I can't quite say what it is. I at some point thought that sounded like Camel in some way, but I took it back because I cannot really tell you what this band sounds like. I guess they just have their own really unique sound. So jumping into this album, this is a really cool mashup album of so many different styles, as I just said. And the first two songs are really cool. They really get you into the groove. And the third song, which is also my favorite from this album, is also really nice. One thing about it, I did not expect lyrics at all in this album. The vibe itself gave me the idea that this was going to be a purely instrumental album, but I was completely wrong. The lyrics, they came in, they were fitting, they were nice, and yeah, from that point on, after the third track, I think this album goes on a bit of a decline. It isn't clicking for me as well as the first three songs on this album. For example, the fourth track, which is called, I think, The Heat, The Drought, The Thirst, and The Insanity. I think that's the name. It's like a really long name. So that track kind of diverges from what has been so far, but as I've seen in this album, they go a lot of different places, and the fact that the three first songs in this album sounded quite similar in some way to one another is merely a choice of like putting them there, because I think this album is pretty unorganized, if you'd say. I don't think there's a real continuation for any of the songs besides, I think, the fourth track and the fifth track, which actually like move into one another. I don't think other songs are really as well placed as they could be, because you can hear a song which gives you that one particular vibe and you're already into it and you're invested into it, and then suddenly the next song comes immediately on and it's an entirely different thing, and not in a pleasant way most of the time. I think the seventh track on this album would really encapsulate what I think about this album as a whole. The seventh track is called The Everlasting Beacon of Light, and it's a really good song. Musically, it's fantastic. I really do think it's great, but the fact is, I don't really dig into that kind of stuff. So this album, as I see it, is a great album musically. Like, it's really fantastic. It's just not my cup of tea. Honestly, if I really had to say, I think this album would have been great to experience on some illicit drugs, but because I don't do that, it's not really my place to say if I think that's true or not. But going through comments on YouTube about the music itself, you can clearly see that some people just enjoy this album a lot more when they're using certain substances. Just to be clear, don't do drugs, okay?
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs.
So when it comes to the cover of this album, I think the cover is really good. Now, as well as what I said about the album, I think it's really good, I just don't dig it. But the fact is, this cover encapsulates what this album is all about. The fact that there are different animals on it and they're dressed in uniforms makes me feel as if it represents a lot of the genres featured on this album and the collaboration that comes within all of them. And I don't know, just everything about this cover actually really does fit with what you're listening to. I just don't really like it artistically. I think it's well executed. I just don't really dig that. And that's my thought on the cover itself. So this album, without a doubt, would get a 7 out of 10 from me. As I said, I do not enjoy this album that much, but I appreciate it so highly that it gets this kind of rating. This is a great album musically. I think the band should release more music like that because that's something that would totally stick with a lot of people, and I think they should get more recognition because this band is really unknown at this point. Well, at least they're not known as most mainstream progressive rock or psychedelic rock bands today. So go listen to Getting Paid by Zechs Marquise. I promise you'll have a blast at doing so and you're gonna enjoy it, and even if you're not gonna love it, you're gonna appreciate it. And stay tuned for tomorrow, we'll be reviewing the next album, which is called New World by Dave Kersner. But that's all for today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace out. Bye bye.